Oh, hey, welcome back to the Watch List. My name's Russ Matthews from Real Dialogue.
And I'm Laura Bennett from Hope 1032.
And we are looking forward to episode number 7. This is a big podcast. I don't know, there's so much going on.
We're talking about Fast and Furious. Could it be any bigger, more ridiculous, and more full of rules that just don't abide by physics or anything else than any other episode?
This one we just get started. Fast X. Let's do Fast X.
Well, this is the 10th in what is one of cinema's most epic franchises, Russell. Epic. And when Vin Diesel actually spoke about this on the Kelly Clarkson show, and he said that one of the reasons, I mean, there's many reasons why they wanted to keep this franchise going, but they realized that if they were to get to 10 or more,
money is one of them.
Well, yeah, let's be real about that. But they would be doing something that no other franchise in the history of cinema has done. Unlike, your Marvels and DCs, Fast and Furious doesn't have an inherited fan base. It's not off the back of a comic book series. It's not anything like that. This is from the ground up. Fans have bought into this franchise. So when you get to the 10th one, you do not care about this at all, and that's okay. But I am invested. In the 10th one, we've now got the introduction of a new villain played by Jason Momoa.
Yes, we do.
Who threatens to basically unravel everything that Dominic Toretto and his family have built over the last decade, because
2 decades.
22
years, this franchise.
Yes, but they flash back to 10 years. Why I reference that.
They do.
So 10 years ago, Dominic and Paul Walker's character, of course, loved grieving his passing still. So they were involved in a heist essentially that took something from Jason Momoa's dad. I'm using the actor's name because it's real, it's them. But they took something from his dad, and so Jason Momoa is essentially there to get revenge on Dominic and the family. And in his eccentric, villainous ways is going to destroy everything.
The world, not just the family and the world.
And he's very, watching this movie, this, mind you, this episode is 100% going to have spoilers, so fair warning for that. But yes. I went along to see Fast X with 2 people that didn't realize this was one of 3. This is not the very, very end. The end is being split up.
All
so
right.
You're going to be left...
trilogy within the decade.
Yes.
That's right.
So this is going to be a movie that leaves you with a cliffhanger. You need to know that. And yes, that is my warning to you. But otherwise, it's so much fun.
Okay. So it's 10.
Yes.
It's going to be 12, and at least that. And then they're going to have spin-offs that go out for every different direction, racing their cars, the women down one path, the men down the other path. Rock I'm sure will show up again. How does this one rank in amongst all of your, because you are like an aficionado?
It is incredible. Jason Momoa is an amazing baddie. He kind of pulls together, for me, it was influences of the Joker meets like a Bond villain. There's like this eccentric, psychotic kind of comical edge.
Right.
And then this real big and ridiculous and just, international type side to what he does. It had all of the action and it had a lot of the pace and the constant energy, but it just wasn't as weighty as some of the others have been. Oddly enough, you don't feel like as much is quiet at stake in some of the others. Don't laugh, Russ. You don't understand the buy-in of these movies.
I really want you to know, Laura, I'm not laughing at you.
I know.
I'm just sitting there going, and also I understand, because knowing in the room right now, my microphone could get turned off.
Yep.
My video could get turned off because of if I really go after this franchise too hard.
We will shut you down.
Get it.
But the thing you have to understand is I'm fully aware, as most Fast and Furious fans, the whole thing is ridiculous, but that's why it's amazing.
Right, there you go.
Because the bond between these characters is epic. It is a lifelong. It is forged in the depths of, life's hardest moments and funnest ones as well. But it is also ridiculous. What other movie defies the laws of physics and
logic?
Exactly. Everything. There is nothing to take seriously about these movies, and that's why they're amazing.
Because I'll give it to you. Jason Momoa, he just looked like he was having a blast.
Yeah.
It is a little over bloated with every single... I won't tell you the cameos, but there seems to be every cameo under the sun.
Yeah.
But you have to have been along for the ride to really even get what's going on in this movie, don't you? I mean, because half the characters are coming in. I'm going, oh, cool, but why are they there? And so this sort of thing. I've been, just so you know, I have watched the movies. Don't get me wrong. I mean, but for those who haven't, you'd have to have seen the rest. Right?
I think if you're going to feel the significance of different pieces, sure. And like when they're gathering the whole family around the table at, you know, the family home that has featured in so many of these movies, when they're talking about Brian and little B, who's named after Brian, and all of that kind of a thing, you're not going to feel that and understand the journey these characters have been on if you haven't watched the other ones. But I think if you just happen to be like brought along to watch this movie, you're still going to have fun and enjoy it for the individual story that it is, because Jason Momoa's character especially, like, you've got a new villain, you've got a new mission, you've got new threats and all of that kind of stuff, that as a standalone movie you can still have fun and just be like, what in the world is this? A giant rolling bomb going through Rome.
Exactly.
But you're obviously not going to get the full context.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, because I mean, they do. I mean, they break all the barriers. There's no logic, there's no physics, and there's no time. Because I mean, all of a sudden, we go from Brazil to Portugal to the United States, or we go in the back of a shipping container.
Yeah.
And you're going, we complain about the smell, but we don't complain about the fact that we haven't eaten or drank or anything. Yeah. So like,
it's kind of like a competition to see how many different places in the world they can show in one movie. And I'll admit to you, like, I am a fan of this franchise for sure, but I also got confused. I think it was like 2 movies ago. So Brian, which is the character that Paul Walker plays, he died. They grieved that, but then it was like within the universe of Fast and Furious, he's still alive, but he's not there. And both my sister and I, who love this, we were like, hang on, didn't he die within the franchise as well as in real life, or did they just grieve him leaving? And I suddenly thought, I don't remember. I have missed this because his character started being written back in.
Yeah, all of a sudden there's scenes that he's in again where you're going, hey man, how did he even be there?
I needed to check myself. Like, I need to really go back. Maybe there's Fast and Furious fans listening right now. Correct me. But I was like, wait, I've missed something.
Sure.
They've tried to do something different with this.
Well, I'm going to give you a challenge, okay? Because I mean, I'm just going to. If it hasn't been obvious, I'm not a huge fan of this franchise,
okay,
so I totally get it,
you.
and I still respect me. Thank you. But how can you explain? I mean, I think you've started already, but how do you explain the love of this franchise without using the word family?
I think it's legacy, and because even in this one, they don't milk the family thing quite as much as you think they might. Like, in some of them, every, third or fourth kind of moment, there's some mention of family this and family that. In this one, they talk about it, and the threat is, of course, to destroy the family, but it's like, it didn't seem to be the central thing. It's like, it's a legacy thing. And I think that's probably one of the things that does keep people coming, because of course, when you watch the very, very first one, for me, it was a love of cars and the coolness of it, and just like, whoa, street racing, and I like teenager, like it took a time of life and was just the right movie at the right time for everyone to be interested in it. It was like a cool community, like the community that it represented. But then I think over time, it does become about allegiances. And as silly as it might seem, you feel this sense of like solidarity with these characters, and it's like you've lived the journey with them. And I think the concept of legacy, it's like, what are you creating with your life? What are you building around you? That kind of core group, whether it's family by blood or family by friendship, all of us have these kind of groups that we are aligned with and that become the people we live life alongside.
Sure.
And that is something to defend and love and preserve and enjoy. And so I think that's the thing.
Okay, there you go.
Right?
Okay. No, I totally buy it. I'm not that I'm going to come away going, yeah, now I believe in the family.
Yeah.
But no, I definitely see it. Because also the other thing I love about this is it gets people back to the cinema. Because you've got to see this on the big screen.
You have to. And it's just cool. Like, let's not forget it's just cool.
Every corner of the screen is being used. I mean, you have cars coming from every single direction. And they still... It is lowbrow, as far as it is superheroes in cars, but it's. I mean, they'll even admit it. I mean, that it's not that they're not trying to be extremely extravagant in some of their concepts and ideas.
Yeah.
They pretty much are still racing cars. I mean, there's a race car. There's a scene in every single film where they're racing cars again.
Yeah. So it's got to be a drag race.
They stay to it. So I get it, but I don't know. Still, just not quite my.
Like, it's the moral of the story is that a guy that knows how to drive a car, a girl that knows how to drive a car can save the day. Whatever's at stake, if you have a car and you know how to drive it, you can be the hero. Like, that's kind of the thing too, as silly as it is. I love it. I love it.
Okay, but one more thing, because I just got to ask this, because you brought this up a while ago when we were chatting about this. You actually say that this series is a love story.
Yes.
You say
How can it not be?
I think you brought it up last time. I'm going, what?
Letty,
I mean, I sort of get it, but tell me, you got to explain to me how this is a love story too.
Letty and Dom, they connected in the first one, and then over the course of the movie, there has been loss and grief and restoration of their relationship. They are like the mum and dad heartbeat of the whole thing.
Okay.
And what I love too, like if we're going to talk about the way that their relationship perhaps is a little different from some of the other like rom-commy ones we've spoken about in previous episodes, Letty gives as good as she gets.
Right.
Like this is a franchise where
the best fight scenes pretty much in the movie.
Like they don't, in some of the earlier movies, like they've certainly evolved the messaging around the women in these movies for sure, but Letty is a strong character in and of herself. She is bad to the bone, right? Like she'll fight if she needs to fight. She'll defend when she needs to defend. Like it's not all Dom and his world, but they're a team. And in terms of like record breaking and everything like that, the Fast and Furious love story between Letty and Dom is like one of the longest running, if not the longest running, in the history of cinema franchises.
Okay, I get it.
It's fun.
Okay.
It's great.
Okay, it's fun. Well, okay, so we went from kind of talking about, because we didn't talk about the women in Fast and the Furious as much, but we're going to go to another strong woman.
Yes.
Maybe. Yeah, so we're kind of looking at The Little Mermaid.
What did you think of this? Because we went to the Sydney premiere.
Yeah.
So Halle Bailey was there. You also had Rob Marshall, the director, Melissa McCarthy in the room.
Sitting right in front of us.
Right in front of us. Wild. What was the night like?
It was crazy. I mean, we've been to quite a few premieres over the years, and it was just mad because, I mean, people dressed out, kind of dressed in their mermaid outfits, and you had adults dressing up like princesses.
Of course.
And Triton. I mean, everybody. Then you also you had all these little kids that were there, that were excited. So there's multiple generations that are kind of being seen here. But then also there's a passion, there's the music, because it's not just the look of it or even kind of this one character that we're focusing on. It's a whole atmosphere. And they did this in the State Theater, and they did it well, and they brought it all together. And so I think it helped, but I don't think it necessarily influenced my decision on what I thought about this film. Because, I mean, the one thing I don't know about you, I'd really love to hear what you thought about this, but I felt like they really stayed to the heart of the original story, but then added on enough to kind of bring it into kind of this era. Well, I'll be honest, going in, I was a little skeptical because I'm kind of, the live action thing, I'm like, okay, haven't we done this enough? And also this has carried a bit of controversy with it as we're kind of going along. But I think that, we still see Ariel. Ariel wants to go and connect with the humans. She saves Prince Eric from a shipwreck, but they really kind of add some things, as well as I think 4 Lin-Manuel Miranda songs. So I don't know. I thought it was, I really enjoyed it, but I'd love to know, what did you think? Especially because I think you have a little bit more of a connection with Ariel than maybe I do.
Maybe, but what I didn't realize that they spoke about on the night was that Ariel in the original only had the one song.
Right.
Part of Your World is her song in the movie, and over the course of it, they, pull different bits and it crescendos and all of these sorts of things. So when they wanted to bring this to the screen now, they did want to expand the musical offering and tell more of the story, give Eric a song, give Scuttle the seagull. Is it a seagull? I don't think it is a seagull.
Well, it's kind of a
bird,
it's
a water
seabird.
bird.
It's some sort of
seabird of some
yeah.
description. Gets a song as well, played by Aquafina. But I think the heart of this story, as you said, like they have stayed true to the basic story. So Ariel's defying her father's wishes by wanting to connect to the humans. She gives up her voice to be able to go to land. But what I appreciated that they did is that they didn't make that so much, because one of the problematic things bringing that story into the modern age is that people aren't going to sit well with the idea of a woman, a young girl in this instance, giving up her voice, giving up her identity to find love with this prince, you know? So what I really appreciated was that wasn't really the backbone of her intention. It was more that she wanted to bridge the gap between these two different people groups. The humans are misunderstood by the mermaids. Her dad wants her to have nothing to do with them. Mermaids are largely misunderstood and kind of hunted by humans. And I feel like you could feel the distinction between her motivation. It wasn't about love and romance, although of course she had this interest in Prince Eric. It was more that she wanted to say, hey, we're kind of misunderstanding each other. I'm seeing humans in a kinder light than everybody else. Let me do what I can to get across the line and show you that, which does involve sacrifice.
Yeah, it does.
We all know the story of the Little Mermaid. Ultimately, you know, she does end up with Prince Eric, which does mean she gives up her life as a mermaid. So there's something to ponder in that, right? Our choices have consequences, even if we're getting the dream.
That's right.
But I just liked that they were able to change the tone enough so it didn't feel so much like, give up yourself for love. Like, it didn't have that. And like you say, there's been controversy around this one, but it was so unnecessary.
It really, well, it's prejudging a film based on it, because I mean that's one of the good things about seeing the panel that I really enjoyed was Rob Marshall going, well, Holly was the first person. I can't ever say it right. Holly or Holly. Anyway, she was the first one that actually performed for them and actually tried out. But then they went through hundreds of other people, but they just kept coming back to her. So it wasn't like they had an agenda where they were trying to pick somebody that had a certain look or anything like that. It's just she was the most talented of choices.
Yeah, well, let me set it up real quick for people who may not be so aware. So Halle Bailey, first African-American Disney princess in a live action. So there has been some in animated Disney productions, but this was the first in a live action. And then this movement started online called #NotMyAriel, where people were pushing back against the idea of an African-American being able to be cast as Ariel. Wild, like of all the things to complain about in a Disney movie or any movie, that's really what you're going to pick. And so there was such pushback, but then such beautiful response when the first trailer came out. And Halle spoke about this on the night, like the reaction of Black kids, people of color, suddenly just crying and being so excited at seeing themselves reflected in this character. And on the night, that energy was in the room as well.
It was.
It was amazing.
Well, and my daughter, who's a music major at university, she was like, oh my word, she nailed it. I mean, it was just an amazing song. The way that she did it, made it her own, even though it still stayed true to the original Alan Menken kind of lyric and everything like that. That was just phenomenal. So I think that was kind of pushed aside for me. But then on top of it, to add in all of the other various songs, especially the Lin-Manuel Miranda songs that really complemented it and really kind of added to it. Even having the fact that kind of explaining the kind of the different sisters, how they represented the 7 areas, not just of the seas, but of the world.
Yeah.
They would kind of come from different ethnicities and things. Was really fascinating to see how they handled it. But then on top of it was just fun. I mean, it was a lot of fun. I think seeing all the characters kind of come back. So you had the nostalgia. But then on top of it, they added in all these kind of fresh new ideas that kind of really helped with it.
They did. And like, there's really mixed reviews for this movie. Some people think it was really flat and just lacking. And I've seen a lot of criticism. But then whether it was because we were in the context of the State Theatre and there's a certain kind of magic and fun to that, and whether it's because we were with an audience who were just so excited to see it and embracing it and, you know, clapping after all of the big numbers and everything, I genuinely thought it was a really good movie. Like, truth be told, I was ready to be disappointed and just think this is another Disney money grab trying to, you know, bring themselves back into that space of nostalgia that seems to be sometimes working well for them. But genuinely, the songs were amazing. The world that they create underwater, stunning. And I just thought, you guys have made this so much more beautiful and fun and relevant than I was expecting for it to be. And a lot of the trailers make it look really dark. And Ursula is a very visually dark character, and there's a lot of sort of menacing, you know, aspects to her. So it is dark in that respect. But the trailers don't do the fun side and the musical side and the bright side justice whatsoever.
No. Well, but you do have to admit, Melissa McCarthy was perfect.
Oh, amazing.
I mean, she was Ursula. I mean, she became Ursula. You don't even think about all of her other roles. She's like, oh, wow.
And she can sing so well.
She can sing. And which she didn't even realize that she could do that. And so shows you what a great director can actually do for that. And because, I mean, the director, Rob Marshall, I mean, he won the Academy Award for Chicago.
Yeah. And he did Into the Woods as well. Yeah, and the Mary Poppins Returns. Yeah. That was him.
Yeah. So he's an amazing director. And it was great to see him on the night. But I will have to say the darker side does kind of move it. I don't know if it's necessarily for maybe littlies, you know, like I think it might be a little scary for those that are maybe under the age of 5 or something like that. I don't know if that's the darker aspect. But then on top of it, adding 4 songs in, the film went from being an hour and a half as an animated film to 2 hours, 15 minutes. And that, I know, having little kids and others, that is a little bit long for maybe a children's movie, but
it doesn't feel long for the rest of us watching it though. Like you
No.
don't feel like you're watching a long movie. But one thing that I realized with this film, or that stood out to me, that I haven't seen a lot of people talking about, is a scene toward the end. So again, maybe spoilers in this if you haven't
Sure.
seen it. But there's in the relationship between Eric and Ariel, Eric's mum, Queen Selena, she celebrates the fact that as these two come together, they're gonna, change the world, go forward, you guys. And she essentially says, like, as you guys go forward and change the world, don't leave us behind. Like, do what you gotta do, don't leave us behind. And it was interesting because I thought that to me speaks to this like subtext, bigger picture conversation happening at the moment. As young people rightfully are curious and explore and want to bring progress in different areas of society, what's the place of wisdom and life experience alongside that? Because in this instance, Queen Selena feels the best thing she can do to support her son is to just say, go ahead, change the world, don't leave me behind. But I wonder, like, if the change that was being brought about was something she had a reservation about, or if it was something that she didn't think should be supported, do you have the chance to ask, is this change healthy? Right? And in the context of Eric and Ariel, great, go for it. Like, have this relationship that bridges gaps. But if it was something where it's like, oh, guys, kind of wisdom says to me, you maybe don't want to go down that path. Life experience says to me, this may not actually get you the outcome you want. Can we have that conversation these days where, I just feel for any parent or carer, any older person watching this, I feel like you don't want the idea of being a supportive person, helping out the next generation to just mean never questioning or never bringing analytical thought to an idea of progress.
Sure. Well, yeah, and I think that it kind of goes to so many of the things that we see in our modern cinema, and especially Disney films, that, it's the young have all of the ideas, it's all of it. And well, no, actually, there's a value. Because even seeing their father, he doesn't do what he's doing because of he just wants to oppress his daughters. He's actually, I want to protect you. I want to take care of you. And there is a wisdom, even though he does kind of go over the top to a certain degree within it all. But yet, I think that seeing that value and seeing kind of let out is something that we can actually kind of celebrate and hopefully be able to see the value of multiple generations and be able to see how we can go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and there's growth and change for both of them.
That's right.
Like you see the parental characters evolve and have their own journey, and you see that happen for the younger characters as well. Yeah. Like that crossover, like you say, is just really significant. Like, how do we do that well?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I don't know. I would say that this one goes on the watch list for me, especially I think that it's worthwhile. The music is fantastic. It's great for families. That's the one thing that you rarely see. I mean, Mario Brothers, I think was really a standout for that all of a sudden families want to come back.
Yeah, and we can't understate how much of an impact this has had on minority communities. Like the friends of mine that have watched this and speak about it on their social pages, the response from women and young girls who go, Ariel, like my little sister, my kids, they're getting something I never had. I'm not going to speak for people from that community, but I just know from what I've seen, this matters a lot. And we can't underestimate the significance that Halle Bailey being cast and what Disney have done with this, how much it's actually helping people. Yeah. Which is quite special.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, I think it should be on the watch list, and hopefully it actually is a hit for them.
Yeah.
As far as when it goes.
It'd be a worthwhile one.
It definitely, and it actually was a pleasant surprise for me because I really went in pretty negative kind of going in, and I thought I came out really sold on it. Yeah. So I think it's great.
Absolutely.
All right. So now, you were a little passionate about the Fast and the Furious.
I mean, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. But also there's other franchises. I don't know if there's other franchises throughout history that we've kind of loved. And I'm kind of curious. I want to ask not only what are some of your other favorite franchises. I don't know if there's as many that you'd be as passionate about as Fast and the Furious.
You might have pushback on some of these.
Yeah. But also, why do you think they have? What is the appeal? Like, what is the appeal of these franchises? You don't have to go into all of it, but just I'm kind of curious.
Well, and weigh in on this in the comments section, wherever you're listening, on our YouTube channel. Tell us what franchises you love, because the ones that stand out to me, I mean, Jurassic Park, of course, has to be up there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a different kind of franchise. I think there's certain franchises, if they get to you at the right time in your youth, you have a relationship to them unlike others. So for me, Jurassic Park and everything around it captures that imaginative desire to explore and discover that is really youthful. Love it. You're
Oh,
Jurassic...
see. The thing is, I'm a Michael Crichton fan. I was so disappointed when he passed away because I thought he was one of the best writers out there. He just brought in science, but he put the cookies on the bottom shelf, meaning he made it accessible and he made it interesting, and then on top of it, entertaining. Just great writing.
Yeah.
So then the original, to have Steven Spielberg to take it on, have Michael Crichton writing, it was just brilliant. And so they've kind of had their ebb and flow, but I think that when they came back, even with Jurassic World, that it was actually a really good reboot to it all.
I like Chris Pratt in it, but I don't know that they've kind of exhausted it a little bit.
Oh,
like
now
it's
bad.
But can I bring up High School Musical after bringing up Jurassic Park? Because it is a trilogy. There is a High School Musical trilogy.
You want my respect? Okay, sure.
And
maybe.
I know it is subpar to most other films of all kinds.
Zac Efron. Hey,
right?
let's go.
Hi. But he touched my elbow once, guys. I just need that known. It was at a premiere and I haven't watched it since. No, but High School Musical, it became so much to so many people. It's got to be on there. Transformers has to be on there.
There you go.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Right.
And Sharknado.
One
of the greatest franchises of all time.
Maybe B franchises. Yeah, there you go.
Because you don't have to be good to be the best.
You don't have to be the best. You keep going
learn.
on and on and on. Yeah, they just kind of continue on. My family would say Harry Potter was still one of their favorites. I don't think I've ever seen a franchise where they watched it multiple times over and over again, as well as reading the book series. The Dark Knight trilogy.
Oh my gosh, yes.
As far as the Batman, I think is great.
100%.
Mission Impossible, interestingly enough, is the one that's actually gotten better.
Yes.
As it's kind of like, it is really fascinating.
Fed into the sort of icon, the legend of Tom Cruise, right? Everything that he is as a stuntman and a daredevil and all of the things. He wouldn't be, right? He wouldn't have the same kind of legacy as he does without those movies.
No, he wouldn't. And then on top of it, there's another one. I just love the Bourne series. So I would have to say with Matt Damon. I want to keep with the Matt Damon one, but
don't want Jeremy Renner.
I love Jeremy Renner, but that was a retrofit that didn't work.
Yeah, okay.
I think they were trying to give it to somebody who really could, but he's actually. Yeah,
he's not Matt Damon.
He got his time in the MCU, which is another franchise that everybody loved up to a point.
Yeah, but then in one respect, like, I'm going to offend so many people. Is the MCU, is the Avengers and all of that really the best franchise? Like, yes, it's one of the most successful. It's made a bunch of money, but the Bourne series, Matrix.
The longevity of it, it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of reset it, because they need to reset it. And they're going to kind of go through a similar time as the DC universe has in so many different ways. So MCU was great for its time, but will it have the longevity? I don't know if it'll have the same sort of thing.
And I think it's so much more easy to get exhausted by. Like the sort of that superhero exhaustion that we've spoken about. No one's exhausted from Jurassic Park, I would say. Maybe some of the Chris Pratt ones, but no one's exhausted by Bourne and all of the others that we've mentioned. You can rewatch them. They haven't outlived themselves.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I think as we kind of come to wrapping this time up, because I know we kind of even though this has been a blast, I think that it also it helped me to even think about how that is within the human experience. Because even if you're looking at why do we have 4 stories of Jesus even in the Bible, is because all of them kind of give a different perspective, get a kind of different view of it. And it kind of goes back. It's not even just movie franchises, but we want to know more. We have a personal investment in this. And talk about the greatest, not just character, but person or individual in history, to be able to know and understand more. We're able to get all these different views. And I think that's what the franchise kind of points to, the human condition, but yet then even from a biblical standpoint, that we can see the value and importance of it in building that relationship, wanting to know more about these characters. They were real, you know, and that also but there was more to them than just one good line or one good story or one cool car. All that sort of thing. And so I think that there's something about the franchise that really kind of exposes who we are as humanity, that we want to invest in deeper into something. And I think that that's one of the things that we can even say within even the biblical framework, is that we want to invest in this. And that's why we go back and read it over and over again.
I have a thought that is quite tangential to, the depth of what you're speaking about right now. But what kind of car do you reckon Jesus would have had if he had one? My brain went, well, carpenter, he probably had some flatback ute. Like
totally.
Yeah, right? I mean, maybe in the comment section you can say what kind of car.
I could see him in the Ford Bronco, the old Ford Bronco, driving down the road with all of his stuff in the
Or would
back.
he have had the mum van so that he could pop all the disciples in, take them on the road? Like, is my imagination just inappropriate right now? Maybe,
please
I
put
don't
your
know.
comments down below.
But
I
I'd love
can't
to
wait.
hear.
What kind of car would Jesus drive?
And I will, let me add to your depth though, and just agree with you, right? Like there is something to say for these things that are with us through the various seasons of life. And so for people at whatever point you connect with faith, whether you have yet or haven't,
right,
in our own lives, everything changes around us, but there are these through line stories. And in the life of Jesus and the story of faith, that for a lot of people is this through line that we then see in different ways through the evolution of life.
That's right. It's so
it's
good.
It's there.
Oh, you know what? And I love how we bookend that with Fast and the Furious and Jesus. I just
there is a tie-in.
There's a tie-in, and we were able to make it there. And so as we come to kind of the end, we're going to be signing off here at the watch list. But make sure you subscribe. Make sure if you haven't had a chance to subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and also the YouTube channel. But also, it's just a blast to be able to do this together. But we hope that you've enjoyed our time together. And again, well, Laura, I'm going to sign us off and I would say thanks.
And thank you for listening. Make sure you rate this podcast wherever you're listening. You can subscribe to it as well. Find us on the Hope 103.2 YouTube channel so you can turn your notifications on, get the latest episodes of the watch list, and so many more as well.
Fantastic. Well, we look forward to spending more time with you again. Make sure you grab your popcorn, discuss everything about film and faith on the watch list.